morning, everyone. Yeah, thank you very much for coming, and it's good to see so many of you again. I think many people have been to a Waber conference before, and so I can see some of the faces from previous years. Welcome.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Moses Anibaba. I'm the director of the British Council in Ghana. It's good to be here, and it's good to be in the presence of a very distinguished chairman today who has done a lot in Ghana and is very passionate about built heritage. He's done a number of documentaries and is very outspoken on the issue.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be back here again amongst old friends and meeting new friends as well. We started Waber 2 years ago now. This is the third event. Until the world finishes. In science, we're talking about a relative truth, a provisional truth that will do for now until we come up with a better explanation. And so there is no such thing as a scientific fact. There is only a provisional understanding that fits most of what we currently know, but we live in hope of finding a slightly better understanding as more research is carried out. So it's a provisional consensus. So the first thing to do when you're doing research is to figure out what that consensus is and figure out how delicate it is and how open to challenge and open to question it is. And I've come up with my own definition of what we mean by science. The kind of things that we're looking for in the journal Construction Management and Economics would be reports of observations of specific phenomena within particular theoretical frameworks that would help us to develop better explanations that improve our understanding. So any piece of research that we're listening to during the course of this conference, I want you to have in mind, is it clear what this person's talking about when they're explaining their research in terms of what kind of observations are they making and what kind of lens are they looking at this through?
I said earlier in the last part of the presentation that if you're going to write on management science in the built environment, then you would write like a management scientist in the built environment. And in my case, where I'm writing about management information systems, or IT, in the built environment, how far do I have to go then? In that, in presenting that issue
We're going to speak about 4 countries and how they have tried to reform the construction industries. And the 4 countries are the UK, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Malaysia. We'll talk about why they actually thought about reforming the construction industries. We'll then talk about what they have achieved since they started to talk about the construction industries, what the institutional framework actually was, what were some of the impediments, some of the challenges, some of the constraints that they faced. Sometimes the cultural context, that's why I liked the story told by the former mayor, very, very interesting, because culture is very important and it's always there. We also look at how similar they are, and we shall try and separate out also the differences as well. And then we will talk about what about the future. If this is what we know, what about the future? Then we'll be asking ourselves this question. We as researchers, what role do we have to play when our countries are trying to improve their construction industries, when our countries are trying to reform the construction industries? we always say that our industry is not doing well. Our clients always say that our industries are not doing well. Our governments always say that our industries are not doing well. Governments in many countries are trying to do something about it. I'll be sharing with you 4 examples of countries which are trying to make an effort. And then the question is, what can we do, as researchers? And then what does the future hold? And I'll be also trying to impress upon all of us here that I think international collaboration among the researchers is important. So Waber is a catalyst, Waber is a framework, Waber is an opportunity. It's something that we must grab and we must actually take advantage of, or in the form of a small plant. The Green Mark has then been followed by a series of awards for excellence in the Green Mark as well. And they're taking it very far. They actually are building buildings. The building at the top right-hand corner is a zero-energy building, which my colleagues designed at the university and which has been built. The building currently is not just zero energy, but actually net positive, which means that it takes less from the grid than it puts into the grid. This morning, Najele was telling us about the photovoltaic, something that's being used extensively already in Singapore. So the differences that we found among the 4 countries are these. The first one is that the context was different. And something that we saw in Singapore to be the very norm. One of them, for example, is the idea of subcontracting. We were discussing this morning. Subcontracting in Singapore is the norm. That is what happens on every project. The contractor will get the job, he will sublet it to others. Whether he's allowed to do so or not, he does it. And then these other people also sublet to other people as well. In Singapore, it is the norm. In certain countries, it is not considered to be good. But that is the context in the various countries. So what we see to be the norm, what we see to be something that we would more or less expect, is something that people are trying to avoid, something that people are trying to stop, something that people are working towards, trying to control. Another example I could also give is the idea of how should I call it? Some people will say routinization, standardization, drawing up rules, drawing up guidelines, preparing boxes that people should tick. All right. In Singapore, professionals don't mind doing that. They like that because then they are guided, they are controlled. But in the UK, when I spoke to my colleagues there, they don't like it because it means that they are not their professionalism is being curtailed. They are not being allowed to express themselves. So from one context to another, it's different. In Singapore, most of the things were achieved through law, through regulation. In the UK, they would actually resist law and regulation as much as possible. Okay, so the contexts were quite different. Nevertheless, if you look at the similarities, you'll find that everywhere they wanted to make a radical change. You also find that everywhere they set up set of targets that they wanted to achieve. You also find that everywhere they wanted to make a difference. They really wanted to get the industry to perform better. Okay, so the intentions were similar, the approaches different because of different contextual institutional backgrounds and maybe cultures as well. But what I would then like to say is this, that if at any time we're looking at industry development, if at any time we're wanting to improve our construction industries, because of some of the things that we have highlighted, we must remember it is possible, it is not easy, it doesn't take 10 years, it takes much longer. We don't reach our end too quickly and very, very soon. We must continue to work at it. And we shouldn't then also take what has happened elsewhere and try to translate it in other places because it does not necessarily work that way. Okay. So those are the points that I wanted to leave you. And this one here, I also wanted to share with you that Waber, as I said earlier on, is an opportunity for us. It's good for us to work with. It's good for us to meet not only once a year, but perhaps meet over perhaps some other media throughout the year and maybe every day, and share ideas and collaborate.